If you're a business owner who knows you're meant for more, you're doing well, but you've hit a glass ceiling and you're wondering why everyone else seems to be winning while you're stuck, then this is for you. I've spent thousands of hours in the chair coaching world's elites and helping generate tens of millions in revenue for all my clients. But before I was working within the gold standard of global peak performance coaching, I was standing on a construction site with no professional experience, being told to stick to what I knew. So I had to learn the hard way that internal limits are the only real limits. Today I'm giving you the control model. We're going to look at the 3 levels of control and why your mindset software is probably crashing because you're neglecting your biological hardware. Here's the thing that you really need to hear right now. Your psychology, your mindset can never really outperform your brain, your physiology. And what you're seeing today all around the world is most people trying to update their mindset, reading books, listening to podcasts, going to events, while their body is, keep it politically correct, messed up. It's like a 3-year-old iPhone about to crash. We all know we put the software on the iPhone, it's 5 years old, and then the phone crashes. Why is that? It's because the hardware cannot sustain the software. To become limitless, you have to stop leaking your energy into things you can't change. Think of control as 3 rings. The outer ring, this is the far out zone. This is the news, the weather, global politics. You have 0 control over these things and 0 influence. So the outer ring is things that you have no control over, no influence. As you come closer, it's better, the middle ring. These are the things that you can influence, but you can't control. These are your kids, your spouse, your clients, even the barista at the coffee shop. You can influence these people, but you can't control them. And the way to influence somebody is to know what already influences them. If you're trying to shove things down their throat that they have 0 interest in, they're not going to do what will be helpful for your relationship. If you have a staff member and they don't really care about money, but they care about their promotion or they care about their family time. Actually, you see this a lot in business. Someone cares a lot about their family time. They want to do the bare minimum at work and they want to go home to their family on time. And then the boss comes in like a smart guy and says, hey, I'll give you a pay rise if you do more. And the guy's like, well, no, because I'm not influenced by that. And then they come to someone like myself and go, hey, how do I influence my staff member to do X, Y, Z thing? And I'm like, well, what do they want? I'm like, well, I don't know what they want. So you got to find out what they want, right? So you got to influence someone in the way that they're already influenced. So these are your staff, these are your family, these are your kids. You got to learn what influences them in order to influence them. But at the end of the day, you cannot control them. So that's the second layer in. So we've got layer 1, things you can't control, you can't influence, like politics. This is actually why a lot of people are suffering right now because of the state of the world. They're trying to control things they have 0 control over. They're trying to influence things they have no influence over. You have no influence over politics, no influence over the weather, over war. You 0 influence. And over the last period of time, this is where a lot of people are spending most of their time. And that's why you're seeing suffering go up in the world today, because people are depressed because they're trying to spend time in areas that they don't belong in. You come in this way and you got influence, but you can't control. And then the last thing, this is the goal, we want to be at the bullseye. This is the things that we can control and we can influence. This is our goal. This is the handful of things that you have 100% control over. And what are those things? These are what you choose to focus on. These are what you choose to make things mean. These are what you do. And these are how you feel, controlling your own emotions. Nothing else. And what do we mean by that? You could choose to turn on the news and listen to that, and that's going to control how you feel. You could choose to listen to the news and make up a made-up meaning. One person can say, hey, I'm listening to the news. The world is in a chaotic place at the moment. This is a perfect time for me to come up with a value offer and as a result make a lot of money, which we already know scientifically and historically some of the biggest companies are made in recessions. Or you could choose to look at the news and think, my life is over. What's the point of going to work? What's the point of starting a business? So what you choose to focus on and what you make things mean actually determine what you do. This is our goal, to control our emotions. How do we control our emotions? That is by paying attention to what we focus on. That is by paying attention to what we do in terms of our physical body. That is in terms of what we choose to believe. That is in terms of who we spend time with. That is in terms of who the role models are that we spend time with. If you spend time with people that are very optimistic, you're naturally, as a default byproduct, going to become optimistic. If you spend time with pessimistic people, you are naturally going to be pessimistic. That's just the truth. Here's an example. The other day, I was sitting with somebody, and they decided that the world was ending, and they were so convinced that it was ending, and I didn't have the same opinion. But after being with them for a couple of hours, I started to feel that way, and I went home to my wife, and she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, man. I think the world's ending." And she's like, "Well, that's not like you." That's because we are naturally going to become a product of our environment. Because proximity is power or proximity is weakness. The people you are in closer proximity to are going to determine how powerful you are or how weak you are. That's the bullseye. That's where we want to aim to be. We want to aim to be in the things that we can control and we can influence. So now we start to talk about how can we take control of the things that are within our control, are within our influence. You see, when I transitioned from construction to coaching, my software, my beliefs, my mindset was being told that I'd fail. Why would someone even want to speak to you when all you've got is experience in construction? Now, if I had just sat in a room meditating, journaling, visualizing, whatever else you can do to control your mindset, I definitely wouldn't be here today, because mindset is software. But your software is limited by your hardware, by your physical brain, by your neuroscience, by your neural pathways, by your neuroassociation. Imagine an iPhone. If you have the latest iPhone, it's just come out and you get a notification, it says there's a software update, and you click update, then the phone works better. Things are great. But if you have a 5-year iPhone or a 5-year laptop or whatever it is, and then you get the notification that says software update, and you click yes, you've made that wrong decision. We all know what decision is. And you click yes, what happens? The phone crashes. It stops working, it starts lagging, it slows down, and then you start to hate the moment you updated your phone. Actually, this happened to me with my Outlook app. I updated my Outlook app and it messed up everything, and I hated the moment that happened. So what we want to do is we want to start to do both, really. The first one, though, is we want to pay attention to our neuroscience. You must exercise your physical body, because that's what's going to exercise your neuroscience. You must exercise your physical body. You must prime the hardware. And the reason why that is because when you exercise physically, it's going to increase your endorphins. It's going to increase your dopamine. It's going to increase the chemicals, the physical chemicals in your brain. That's going to increase your confidence by 25%. It's going to drop your cortisol by 25%. It's going to make you 33% more likely to take a high-level risk that you would need to make an merger and acquisition deal or a business scaling deal or speaking to your team or speaking to your spouse or making hard conversations. If your hardware, your physical body is fat, overweight, not dialed in any way, shape or form, you just had a fat pizza and your carbs are just making you want to go to bed, and now you want to go and sell cars. The reason why I bring up the cars thing is this has actually happened. There was a self-development guru who was called in to train a business, a car dealership. And he arrived and they were like, "Hey, we don't know what happens, but before midday, our team is great. But then after midday, there's this massive drop-off. Can you come and coach our team?" And they paid him loads of money. And he comes in, and what happens is he goes, "Before we do the training, can I just watch the team?" So it gets to lunchtime, everyone goes to lunch, he comes back, or they come back, and he just watches, and then immediately he knows exactly what's happening. These guys are going for massive lunches, coming back, all they really want to do is go to bed, and now they're not in the state to sell any cars. If anything, their only car they're in the state to be in is bed. So, of course, he did the training, but if nothing else, he said, "Look, if you guys just have a lighter lunch, you'll increase your sales numbers. That way you won't crash." Your physical body is an extension of your psychology, and your psychology is an extension of your physical body, but they are both, there's a mind and body connection. So we need to start by building the hardware first, so that you're 25% more likely to be confident, 25% less cortisol, 33% more likely to take risks, and then we can move over to this side and start to look at your software, which is your psychology. Once your hardware is primed for a movement, though, you can start to effectively run your psychology, your software, by controlling 3 simple inputs. Number 1, I already spoke about, which is your focus. You begin to ask yourself great questions. Are you looking at your glass ceiling, or are you looking at the tools to break it? The second is your beliefs. Is your past experience a prison or a lesson or a foundation? And then lastly, the words that you use with yourself, the language that you describe situations and things in yourself. This is your internal dialogue that you use with yourself that's going to decide the experience you have. Because however you define an experience becomes the experience. And honestly, what I'm telling you right now works both in business, if you're working on a high stakes merger, or if you're just trying to save your own marriage and build your health. I recently used this exact hierarchy to help a client rescue his marriage on the brink of divorce while simultaneously navigating a high stakes merger. We didn't start with, hey, let's talk about your communication skills. We started with physicality, the neuroscience, your physical body, to drop your cortisol so you could actually focus on your bullseye, which is things you can control and you can influence, rather than reacting to the things you can't control and you can't influence, or trying to influence somebody in the wrong way and then asking yourself, why isn't it working? So what you really want to do is stop trying to run your 2026 software on a 2020 hardware. Take control of the center of your ring today, things you can control and you can influence. If you're ready to stop hitting that glass ceiling and you want to discuss how we can shatter those mental limits in a one-to-one capacity, then send me a message. And finally, I do truly believe that business owners who want to grow their income while working less should prioritize shattering their mental limits first over traditional skill acquisitions like strategies, skills, events, podcasts. And that's really it. Stay limitless.